Hi Scorpio, this is Mimi with Divination by Mimi. Welcome to your January 15th through the 31st, 2018 tarot reading. It's a little bit of astrology and oracle guidance if necessary. Scorpio, you are a fixed water sign. You rule the 8th house, which is it's commonly known as the house of death, sex, and other people's money. But it's actually much more than that. This is the place where we assimilate the experiences of childhood and process that hurt, wound, and move beyond it so that we can move beyond the lessons of this incarnation, move to our highest self. So 8th house is a very, very important house. Your sign is a water sign and you're ruled by Pluto. And it's kind of appropriate, being that the 8th house does kind of dive deep into those things, those hurts and wounds that motivate us throughout our lives, from early childhood or even from previous lives. It would be appropriate that Pluto, the lord of the underworld, would be your ruler. So at the moment, you have Mars in your constellation. Mars was a previous ruler for you, so he feels fairly comfortable in your sign. He's the warrior god, the archetypal male, and he lends his energy to action, and he rules Aries, the first house. So the assertion of the individual I am, the soul born into the world, into the first house of the natural natal chart. And it's kind of appropriate because the 8th house and Pluto investigate those deep early hurts, that Mars would be in a correlation with your rulership or be in rulership of the 8th house and of your sign as well. And I think I mentioned, or if I didn't, it's a water sign. Very, very intuitive, an extremely deep, healing sign. Very, very wonderful people. Scorpio, very often misunderstood because they are willing to do the work, to go deep. There is a depth to them that can appear as dark from time to time, but it's really not. It's actually just being willing to look at things honestly and investigate them and ultimately heal them. So wonderful sign. So that's about all the activity that's occurring in your constellation in the 8th house at the moment for this remainder. Now, there are some other things of note. On the 16th and 17th, there is a new moon in Capricorn in the 10th house. So as you're probably aware, a new moon is created by the Earth's shadow being cast upon the sun because it's obscuring the light. Not the sun, I'm sorry. The Earth's shadow being cast upon the moon because it's obscuring the light of the sun, therefore making it a dark moon. And archetypically, this means that it is a time of gestation, a time to plant seeds. It's dark, fecund soil. And this is the time when the beginnings of the balsamic stage, or the waxing phases of the moon. It's the time that you set a goal, set an intention, and then you feed that goal like you would a seed as it grows. So a very important time. Now, this new moon occurs in Capricorn, the 10th house, and 6 other planets or energies are in that house at that time. 2 female archetypes, your counterpart, well, not your counterpart, but Venus, Mars's counterpart. Venus, the female archetype, the feminine archetype, not gender against energy, is there, and she is kind of one of 2 archetypes, feminine archetypes in there. She's kind of the goddess of love, of value. If you were to make a correlation with Sumerian myth, this would be Inanna to Ereshkigal. Okay, so she would be Inanna. And Ereshkigal's partner in this situation is Black Moon Lilith, who is also in the 10th house of Saturn, of Capricorn. And keep in mind, the 10th house has to do with structure. It's Capricorn, and it's ruled by Saturn, who's there at the moment. But it's about structure, hierarchy, authority figures, law and order, established institutions. Okay, but definitely authority figures. So you have your ruling planet, Pluto, a power heavy hitter, god of sex and death and the underworld and power, right? And he's facing off, or he's not facing off, but he is there with another male archetype, which is Saturn, who's kind of the father, the very, very strict father figure. He's about structure and the restrictions of the manifested world, the 3-dimensional gravity applies type of world. So they're there, and then you've got these 2 archetypal females, Black Moon Lilith, who is the suppressed feminine, the scapegoated feminine, next to Venus, the sort of celebrated feminine. Okay. Then we also have, of course, the sun and the moon making their aspects to create the new moon. And then we have also Mercury's in there. So all sorts of activity in there. Now Mercury at this point is out of the retrograde shadow, so you shouldn't be feeling too many upsets communication or technologically wise, but there is an interesting aspect, a irritating aspect on the date of the new moon. So this new moon occurs on the 16th or the 17th, depending upon where you are in the world, of January. And as I said, it's in the 10th house, which is Capricorn's house, ruled by Saturn. So this house, being about structure and most importantly authority, is making a square. This new moon is making a square with Uranus. Uranus has recently gone direct and is in the fiery constellation of Aries, okay, which is a youthful first house. I think I mentioned that earlier, a youthful, impulsive, but active, fiery energy. Uranus, the archetype for Uranus tends to be the rebel. In a good way. He is the revolutionary, the activist. He works for the collective. He also works for the collective in the sense of progress. So there's often technological revolutions that occur with him. He has to do with electricity. But most of all, and this is why I think it's important for this particular aspect, considering the political environment out there, Uranus making this square, which is a 90-degree angle. And a square is considered an irritant, kind of in the way, if you look at it positively, because all change and irritation, all difficulty really is for our own good. So ultimately it is growth. But just to use a sort of an analogy, think of the irritating grain of sand inside the mollusk, or the clamshell, or the whatever that is, I can't think of it, oyster shell. As that sand is in there irritating the flesh of that oyster or that clam, it's creating something beautiful, a pearl, something very rare and beautiful. So change ultimately occurs from irritation. So keep that in mind when I explain this square. The square is an irritation. It's considered a difficult aspect, but it's an impetus to change. So when this rebel, activist, revolutionary energy squares off with the new moon in the house of authority, law and order, you might find yourself in situations where you might want to stand up to authority, or mouth off, or square off with authority. So maybe you'll get into an argument with your boss, and there might be an instinct to get into an argument with your boss or your parents, your landlord, a court system, some government official, things like that. So, or the cops. So, and that brings me to the next point, which is on the world stage, we might see more of this increased activism. Again, that's the Uranian energy showing itself, right? Expressing itself on the world stage. Might see some clashes with authority figures like police, like court systems. A good example would be this G20 trial that's occurring from the last World Trade Organization protests that occurred. So, not an uncommon thing to see. Later in the month, we have a full supermoon with an eclipse. This is the second, not only is it the second full moon of the month, but it's the second full supermoon, and this one has an eclipse. It's in Leo. This is the 5th house, which is about self-expression. So we might find at the end of the month, when this full supermoon occurs, that you have a real sense of expressing the self for no other reason than expressing the self. This could be in art, this could be in music, this could be writing, this could be just speaking your mind. Again, thinking of that Uranus square with the 10th house new moon. So you know, you might feel a desire, an instinct to be more active in a political sense, or in expressing your feelings about something. Either way, that's the energy. So again, with 2 super full moons, one with an eclipse and a new moon, and then all this heavy activity in the 10th house of authority, watch for lots of activity on the world stage, politically, just crazy stuff going on. It's kind of a crazy time we're living in right now, but the planets definitely are the foreshadow to that. I think that's all I've got to tell you astrologically, so let's get into your reading. I am using the Universal Rider-Waite-Smith, which is, Universal Rider-Waite-Smith, which is a Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. I'm doing a 4-card pull based upon some issue in your life at the moment. So something you're feeling, something you're sitting in, an experience you've recently had that you're ruminating on. And then that will be the first card. The second card will be any positive aspect about that. The third card will be any negative aspect about that. And then the fourth and final card will be any overall advice. This is for Scorpio. 8th house ruler, ruled by Pluto, water sign, intuitive sign, fixed water sign. Scorpio for January 15th through the 31st, 2018. One more. Holy Hecate, cosmic soul, thank you. Right away. The moon, upright, major arcana, positive aspect. Oh, you're reminiscing. Maybe you're around family or thinking about happy times, maybe family, maybe friends, maybe an old loved one, someone that you feel intimately with. Negative aspect is that it's over. Sorry, it looks like it was a coupling. Overall advice. So, okay, so the overall advice here is the 9 of Swords. You're really ruminating on this. You're really thinking about it. I think last fortnight you had a situation where you were feeling the pain and the loss of a, or some of you were, of a creative endeavor. This looks a little bit more personal. This looks like a relationship. It looks as though something was kept from you. There might have been some secrets. And this is hard for a Scorpio. When a Scorpio feels betrayed, it's the worst thing because for the most, although there can be, don't take this the wrong way, there is a skill at emotional manipulation if the Scorpio chooses to use it because they're intelligent and they're intuitive so they can read people. No offense, everybody can do it, but water signs are good at it and you're a water sign. However, when this happens to a Scorpio who for the most part is loyal friends, loyal lovers, usually. So they put themselves out there. In your relationship here, it looks as though you're thinking back on this relationship that is broken up, right? And you're remembering the good times, and you're feeling the loss. It's keeping you up at night. Swords are mental energy, and this is something that's, again, it's only mental energy. A thought can be changed. It's only a thought, okay? And you're really sitting in it right now. It's making you lose sleep. It's possibly affecting your health, and that's another thing I'd like to highlight here, Scorpio, and to all signs. Uranus is heading into Taurus, which has to do with a lot of things, but particularly the body. And that's happening in May, and we're gearing up to that move right now. He's gaining momentum. He's been direct since the 2nd of this month. And again, he's an unpredictable energy. So as he's moving into the constellation of the 2nd house, which does have to do with a lot of things, but also particularly I'm speaking of the body, it's important that you watch your health, that you take care of yourself, that you eat right, that you exercise, that you do things that help you, not hurt you. And that would include getting out of this mental energy of loss, of pain. It is unfortunate that you've had to learn this life lesson, this karmic lesson that people sometimes do betray. And it feels like the end of the world. I know it does. But remember, try to look at it big picture. You're a spiritual, intuitive being, and this is another wound that you're going to be addressing, okay? But it's a life lesson. There's something that you needed to learn in this betrayal that ended the relationship. And I'm glad that you ended the relationship. And I'm not glad that you're thinking back on it. Well, actually, now let me rephrase that. I am glad that you're thinking back on it. This is the positive aspect. But don't do this too much. The overall advice is not to stay here in your head too much, but to move on. You're reminiscing about what was good about the relationship, although it's ended, okay? And it had to, because of insincerity and untruths and betrayals and things like that. It is important that although you're reminiscing on a positive octave, you don't stay there too long. Because if you stay there too long, you don't grow, you don't open yourself up to someone else, and the mind can play tricks on us. If we ruminate about something too long, it will start to manifest itself in nervous conditions, in fears, which will keep you from falling in love again, from expressing your love again, from sharing your heart center, your chakra here. Is it the 5th chakra? 1, 2, 3, 4th chakra. From opening this up and sharing it with the rest of the world. And this is important. If you close this off, no growth. And you're not about that. You're about constant move, thorough movement. So analysis is important. Just don't stay there too long because it can affect your ability to move forward. Both thinking and acting are part of the growth process. We live in both a mind, spirit, and physical body. So don't forget all three legs of that triangle. Never. Okay, I hope that helps, Scorpio. Yeah, it's good that you're thinking back on it. It's good that you're learning from it. Just don't stay there too long. That is a risk that you would take. And remember, I'm telling you this, and it's being told to me for everyone with Uranus. Take care of yourself. Eat good food. Okay? Try to do organic. Try drink a lot of water. Try to be alkalinic in your drinking. Try maybe put some lemon in your water. You know, things like that. Do some research on what are the most holistic ways you can take care of yourself, because Uranus is unpredictable, and we need you here. We need you to guide us through the 8th house. Okay. Thank you very much, Scorpio. I hope it helped. If you have questions, feel free, or your comments, leave them in the comment section below the video. If you would like a reading, feel free to email me at memememes@hotmail.com. You'll find that email address in the description box below the video. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. It's nice to be able to share ideas. And I want to expand beyond just readings into more esoteric conversations. So it would be nice to get, you know, a back and forth going. We're growing slowly. We're a small channel, but we're growing slowly and organically, which I really like. If it resonated with you, or maybe it didn't resonate with you, but you feel the energy might help a friend, share the video and click like if you really did like it, if it really helped you. Otherwise, I will see you for the lunation videos, and then I'll see you in February. You take care, Scorpio.